Ready?
Ready, Freddy. Hi, my douchies. Welcome back to the Alchemize podcast. My name is Destiny. I'm your host, and I use the internet as my personal journal where I talk about whatever I want. Today's topic is inspired by family, or more like the family in your head. I think what I'm trying to say is that in order to have a balanced life, you kind of have to manage the family in your brain. So for example, you need to be your own mom, you need to be your own dad, you need to take care of your inner child, your inner teenager, and you need to manage the life of your inner adult. So you basically have like at least 4 people inside of your head. And the reason why reparenting yourself is important is because it ties into a lot of different things. For example, people pleasing. A lot of us have this tendency to try to control others' reactions by being overly nice or being sweet all the time. I've definitely been a victim of this, just trying to make sure that nobody's ever mad at me, everyone's always happy, there's never a problem, it's all good, it's all okay, everything's cool. But you realize that you're self-abandoning yourself every time you do that. And just like in a real family, children look on their parents and notice their parents' behavior and repeat that when they're outside of the house. In the same way that you disrespect yourself by letting people cross your boundaries whenever you're falling into the tendency of people pleasing, it comes back in the way that you treat yourself. For example, you cross your own boundaries. Let's say that you decided that this week you were gonna wake up every day at 6 a.m. and you had this routine that you wanted to start doing. But the first day that you start, it goes well. The second day, it also goes well. But then it comes that third day and you decide, you know what? I'm gonna sleep in till 7 because nobody's stopping me from doing what I want. I don't really have to do this. But this is you crossing one of your own boundaries. You told yourself you were going to keep yourself to this standard and you've now lowered it and crossed your own boundary. Or for example, you tell yourself, I'm going to eat healthy today. I'm going to make sure that all my meals are nutritious and balanced for the next week. But then they bring cupcakes at work, and instead of telling yourself, oh no, I told myself that I would stick to my healthy eating and I would protect my vessel, I can eat this cupcake because nobody's watching or nobody's really enforcing this boundary on me. When we were little, we had our parents to enforce boundaries for us. If somebody disrespected us, for example, a stranger in the street or other kids on the playground, your parents would usually step in and protect you. But now that you're older, you need to be your own parent and you need to show your inner child that you will stand up for them whenever you are in perceived danger. A lot of the time, the reason why we default to people pleasing and to letting others cross our boundaries is because we are afraid of what happens if we do have to get into confrontations. A lot of the time, we've proven to ourselves enough times that we will not stand up for ourselves, and so our body and our mind finds ways to cope with how we feel in moments where we are made to feel small, or moments where we are asked to do things that we don't really want to do, or people are disappointed in us because for one reason or another we're telling them that we're unable to fulfill their wishes. So my point with all this is to come back to the thought that reparenting yourself is the foundation upon which you build confidence. Because when you have your inner masculine being that can feel like a protector to your inner child, and the nurturing side of you that can feel like is holding you whenever you're experiencing deep emotions that could be triggered by outside sources, like people having reactions to your wishes or whatever else could be happening. When you have those systems in place, you can actually move through your life in a better way. And when you can employ those systems, you can become more disciplined. Along with that comes the thought that the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. For example, if you're the type of person that stops at day 3 when they started a new routine about waking up early in the morning, that means that when you're at work, you might start with the tasks that you have at hand, and then somewhere around midday you start to slack off because you're getting tired and your mind is not there anymore, and it's hard for you to get back on track. Or you might be super motivated for the first couple of months at a new job, but then later on you start slacking off because you don't really feel like it's you anymore. So there's different ways that wherever you're abandoning yourself in your personal life shows back up when you're out and about in the world. And the more we can be aware of the places where we do abandon ourselves, the easier it becomes to fix that and to straighten out our real lives, let's say. So our inner world needs to be reshaped so that our outer worlds can also look the way that we feel on the inside, or the way that we want to feel on the inside at least. Because contrary to belief, our internal world is what projects onto our external. So if you want life to have certain changes in it, it starts with feeling safe enough in your body to embody those changes within you, and then you can project that externally. For example, if I want to be known to be a great singer, how will my body feel safe enough for me to project that in the exterior? I would have to start by not being afraid of singing in public, because singers sing. So I would have to go out there and expose myself and maybe do that thing where people go and sing on the street with the guitar box on the floor and let people throw coins. I don't know. I would have to expose myself to that uncomfortability at first of being exposed and singing in front of others. And then little by little, I can internalize the thought that, hey, I've done this so many times. I've gone out there and I've gotten my guitar out and my little jar, and people have been hearing me sing on the street for weeks and months. So if I need to do this in front of a group of people in a restaurant, it'll be easier. Or if I need to do this in front of a stadium, it'll be easier. But you can only get there because internally you've decided that you are going to allow yourself to be consistent in going out there and actually getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, you know? So that's kind of what I'm getting at. That your internal needs to be sorted out. Let's say your internal house needs to be sorted out before you can take your family, which is a compilation of you. Is this family analogy still working? I don't know. But basically, your inner body, your inner self needs to be at peace in order for your outer self to be able to go out and do the things that you want to do. And one of the symptoms of not being completely there yet is people pleasing. And honestly, the more that you think about the mechanisms of people pleasing, you notice that it's just another form of emotional manipulation. Maybe not maliciously intended, but it is very much so. People don't realize that when you're people pleasing, you're trying to get an outcome that suits you the best. And sometimes that means that you're disregarding others' feelings. For example, let's say you would really like your partner not to get mad at you if you decide that you don't want to cook today, example. The way that you're going to make sure your partner doesn't get mad is to maybe over-explain yourself, or maybe try to find all the reasons why cooking today doesn't sound like a good idea, instead of just saying, I don't feel like it. It's because you feel so unsafe with the thought of disappointing someone else that you will throw yourself away every time. And it's crazy because a lot of the times you may think that the more you do that, so the more you abandon yourself and give yourself to others, the more you pour yourself out, the more people will respect you because they would like the fact that you are pouring yourself out for them. But it's actually the opposite. The more available you are, the more people take you for granted. So actually, it's all counterintuitive, and it doesn't serve you or the other person because they won't genuinely know whether or not you're doing something for them because you actually want to, or because you feel emotionally blackmailed into doing it by yourself. Because they're not even putting that pressure on you. You're putting it on yourself. You're anticipating that they're going to be doing or having a certain reaction when it hasn't even happened yet. So I think apart from having that inner work done where you can feel safe with yourself, you also need to see people for who they are, see people for what they are, and accept them exactly as they are and act accordingly. A lot of the times we want to project what we think people are onto them and then hope that they will follow the script in our minds. But again, that doesn't really work. You need to be okay with people showing up exactly as they are. And it can be uncomfortable because a person might be in a bad mood or they might not be happy. And, you know, especially when you're younger, it can feel pretty dangerous when the people around you are unpredictable emotionally. But now that you're an adult, now that you're older and you can handle yourself because you've built that trust, people are allowed to act however they feel. But you should not abandon yourself to prevent people from being exactly who they are, because you're taking away their autonomy of being themselves and you're hurting yourself at the same time. So all in all, it's not a good situation. But of course, all of this is easier said than done. I feel like I've kind of rambled a little bit on this one, but I just really wanted to get this one out because I just thought it was very important to touch on this topic. It's all too often that I see myself and other people kind of shrinking themselves down because you're trying to fit yourself into this personality that's just not fitting anymore in order to keep peace, in order to be nice. And I'm not saying not to be kind to people. You know, kindness will always go a long way, and giving yourself when you genuinely want to is way more impactful than when you do it because you feel an obligation. I think others will love you, well, not that you're doing things for others to love you, but let's say people enjoy what you do for them more when they can tell that you're doing it out of a place of love and wanting. And they will respect you more if you can just say, you know what, today I don't feel like it, instead of having to come up with 3 million excuses for why you can't do it, or doing it reluctantly and then being resentful towards them anyway because you didn't want to, and because your inner self knows that this went against your boundaries. So let's just all do each other a favor and be less nice to each other. I don't know if that's the right note to end it on, but this is where we're gonna cut it because this is my boundary. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think this is gonna be the episode for today. Thank you all for listening to my little rant. Important message though, so I hope you take it in, and I want you to go out there and allow yourself to be not so emotionally available towards people all the time, and be more emotionally available to nurture yourself, because if you fill your own cup, then you can pour out to others. Yeah, that's a better note. So thank you all for listening, my douchies. This was a great episode once more, and I hope to see you guys in the comments. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you guys would like me to speak about next, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye, my douchies.